This is The Healthy Healer, where true voice is your medicine. This is where we help doctors and other healers navigate through the challenging times by learning from the best minds in the healing industry. Laugh, cry, and be surprised. It's entertainment, education, and inspiration so you can continue to be the unique and amazing healer you were destined to be. Welcome to humanity. Welcome to The Healthy Healer with Dr. Fred.
Hey, it's Dr. Fred, and welcome to another short podcast. This one on the heels of a conversation I had earlier this week with Dwight Dale Miller. So this is a man who is clearly heart-centered, and he got there honestly. He got there in an authentic way. The pathway that he took wasn't even his voluntary or volitional action. It was what was occurring around him and through him, and things that he had to manage and tolerate and actually deal with, that created a sense of spirituality for a man who otherwise didn't even know anybody who had even done yoga and had no conversation and no vocabulary to support any kind of spirituality. Yet he is now clearly spiritual in his nature and even brings his spirituality directly into his contributing universe as a multifunctional healer. One who heals with touch, one who heals with conversation, and one who heals with energy. So how did he get here? And I really began to look at what happens to people in order for them to determine that heart-centeredness is a good idea and a good approach. One thing I discovered when I was thinking about this was that becoming a heart-centered healer usually requires wanting to or learning that the mind-centered healing that we're taught in school and often trained in with mentors or conventional approaches fails us. Like, it isn't multidimensional enough. It doesn't actually affect the other person in a way that is holistic and creates the healing that supposedly is intended or is advertised or marketed to be such. So instead, what ends up happening is that these heart-centered healers, the ones who we've had on the show frequently, I have had a real life. And one common denominator that I've noticed with many of my guests is that many of them have had significant trauma, significant trials and tribulations. And that is what launched them into being heart-centered healers. So their mind, or the mind center, the thinking centered healing, wasn't really doing the job. The technical aspects of whatever the techniques were that they learned weren't doing the job of bringing the level of healing that they then learned or then began to believe that was available to them should they become heart-centered. Now, this is an important and difficult transition, not so easy. You actually have to make a decision to give up on your mind as your leading influence and start really listening to your heart as a source of energy that is bringing forth the healing possibilities. And several of our guests have done this. And I would say that even myself have at least dabbled, if not immersed myself in this type of thinking and being, because heart-centeredness brings a sense of resonating harmony with the connections we try to create. And as I've discussed many times before, at the heart of all healing, and I use that phrase reservedly, but really also use it with no pun intended, at the heart of all healing is a functionally positive, resonating, harmonic human connection. And what I mean by that might be going into reverse as well, is that a functionally positive, resonating, harmonic human connection suggests that in order to do, you need to be at that heart, which is at the center of all healing. So that's where I've come from with many of my guests. And today I just realized how frequent the guests are that I've had on the show who have had real lives filled with trauma, trials, and tribulations and challenges, and have stepped through it to become the healers that they become, the unique and really committed, dedicated, determined healers of the world that aren't following the general path that they were taught in the mind-centered world. So it's really an honor to meet these people who are doing this in some ways so far off the beaten trail that it seems like, yeah, that's impossible. And we try to think about it and figure it out, and it doesn't make any sense in our mind-centered world. But in a heart-centered world where what feelings are and what emotions are very important, we begin to see that this is exactly where healing happens. It's in the heart. And if we pay attention to that, we get an opportunity to pull all these things together, to assimilate them, amalgamate them, and make us into the healers that we really came here to be. Generally, the guests on the show are healers, but they were actually healers long before they were trained. And they've become the healers. They've been tapped and they've been flowed through. The energy and the creativity has flowed through them so that they are now really delivering on their goods, on their gifts, on the blessings that they came here with, and being able to do so in an effective and confident, yet usually very humble way. So I honor the opportunity to meet these people and to share them with you. And I ask you, where is your spirituality? Where is your holistic healing self? Do you get it? You don't even have to be conventionally trained to be a holistic healer. You just have to have a capacity to be heart-centered and then be able to share that in a resonating, harmonic way with others. And I guarantee that if you find that for yourself, you're going to create a healing atmosphere for your friends and family, or anyone else you get in touch with, patients and clients, or colleagues and neighbors, or anyone that you have contact with, even virtually, once you have the flow coming through your heart. So welcome heart-centeredness. It's really fantastic. And the pathway there is very real for sure. So with that, I think I'm going to bid you all farewell. Thanks for listening to the short. It's an honor as usual. And if you like this short and you like this week's podcast, by all means, comment or share, and then make sure that you're subscribed to the Health Healer. So take care for everyone, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.